Hello and welcome to the Book of Leaves podcast. My name is Cara and I am your host. Hello and welcome to Book of Leaves, a show where I interview people that are doing something good for the planet and we take a leaf from their book. It could be something kind of abstract or more practical. There's loads of different topics that we've covered so far, and this of course is episode 56, in which I'll be chatting to Alex Konieczka, who set up an Instagram page and kind of online shop called Understory, but is also involved in a lot of community work and is just one of these legends that seems to just have so many good ideas, and the only problem is not enough time to do them all. So I can't wait for you guys to listen to Alex's story. So absolutely welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast, especially if this is your first episode. Hello, it is great to have you here. My name is Cara, as I said in the intro, and this is just a big passion project of mine that I absolutely love doing. I love meeting all these people, and I hope you guys enjoy the interviews as much as I enjoy having them. And if you have any suggestions, please do get in touch. Also, if you haven't listened already, there is another podcast out called The Climate Alarm Clock, in which Alex actually featured on their episode last Friday gone, the 15th of October. I'm also aware the last podcast episode I said a date. I said November when it's actually October, or maybe even I said September. I don't know. I'm so confused as to what time it is, and I'm sure you guys are as well. This year is just flying by and I actually forget the year, honestly, surprisingly, considering the 2020 is unforgettable. But yeah, I'm just a bit all over with the dates, so apologies for last episode where I said the wrong date, and just apologies in advance, because I'm definitely going to get it wrong again this year, 100%. But yeah, thank you for tuning in to The Climate Alarm Clock. Anyone who's listened to that, there is a Book of Leaves feature on that, but there's so many other really cool little features of news updates and climate explainers, so absolutely check out that podcast episode if you haven't already. I don't think there's really much else to say, so I'm going to jump straight into this interview. If you like this podcast, I do have a Patreon account, patreon.com/Book of Leaves. Thank you so much to the people who have signed up to that. I really appreciate it. And if for anyone who might not have that kind of money, any kind of money, whatever, to donate regularly, you can always support once off. I have a buy me a coffee, buymeacoffee.com/Book of Leaves. And if you haven't got financial means to support, don't worry, I get you. I understand this problem all too well. If you could share this podcast or recommend it to a friend, or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, which I see a lot of you guys are, if you could just take a few seconds to leave a few stars and a little review, that would be amazing and extremely helpful. But yeah, share it around if you find it useful, and yeah, let me know what ideas you'd like to hear. Here is Alex. I've included everything that we chat about in the show notes, and as we talk about, Alex is very open about being approached for help when it comes to applying to your local councils for things, and you might be going, okay, what are you talking about? Okay, here's Alex. I'll let Alex explain everything. Thank you guys so much for listening. Alex, thank you so much for joining me on the Book of Leaves podcast. It is lovely to have you here. I'm so happy that you have given me your time on this Friday evening of all days of the week. So can you please introduce yourself for listeners who may not know you, and me, because I'm only really meeting and getting to know you now as well.
Absolutely. So yeah, thanks so much for having me. I was so excited to go on. I love the name. I love everything about it. So proud and happy to be here. My name is Alex. I don't know, the best way to start is I've always had like an inseparable connection to nature since I can remember all my life. And that kind of led to everything that I did after that. Personally, I just love all the like granny things, as people say, which is I think really ageist, but I love to cook, I love art, I love to read, I love to collect flowers and like leaves and put them in books too, so like all those kind of things. And then professionally, right, it's cool.
That is cool. Flower pressing, I used to do that as a child. Yeah, I need to get more flower pressing into my life again.
It's like gifts for your future self, like you open a book and then there's a leaf. Anyway. Professionally, I'm a graduate ecologist. I've kind of been involved in the sustainability scene, corporate-wise. and worked on like so many conservation projects in Ireland. I did one in Kenya in Africa, which is so cool, really cool.
Deadly.
Then I'm also involved in youth work and climate justice and things like that.
That is so you've got a wide variety of skills and experiences and interests under your belt, which is pretty cool. So you said
Yes.
you've always had inseparable relationship with nature. So would that have been something that I don't know your parents would have encouraged, or was it did it have anything to do with like where you grew up and your surroundings? I presume you did you grow up in the countryside?
You know what? Like you could say that. I think because I grew up in Poland, I was born in Lodz. It's like a very strange place. It's like in the city, but then if, like my house was in front of a field, and on the other side there was a forest. So it was like nature in the city. Like it's
Oh, cool.
so spread out, you know. Like it's so different than here. Here you have just urban, and it's grey, and it's pavements, and you have a couple of trees.
Mm,
But there it's just like spread. So it's like a massive area. So it kind of really helps with that, like having the trees and nature around you. So I definitely grew up in that kind of environment. And then my parents didn't really like have that big of a connection to nature. My father definitely didn't. My mom, I think she enjoyed being in nature, but she wasn't like, I don't know, interested in sustainability or things like that, other than just for pure need. Because, you know, back then, that's just what happened, you know, to save
yeah.
money. And I guess what like made that connection really strong for me was actually like not a positive thing. It was because I felt really alone a lot, and like I had a lot of hardship when I grew up. Like my parents were divorcing, we didn't have a lot of money, and like at one stage my family nearly got evicted when my mom just gave birth to my little sister,
Oh
and we
God.
didn't have a place to go. So it was just all me all the bad things. And the one place where I felt accepted and like I wasn't judged was like the forest or like out in nature. I just felt like no one's gonna care what I look like. Like they're not gonna care if I don't know, came from this background or this background. Like you're just accepted, and it's always been like that for me. So I guess I made that pledge to the forest to protect it. Like I was like, you help me, I'll help you. I promise I'm gonna save you. That was like, yeah, that's it.
That is so, so lovely. And I can resonate with that a little bit. Like, and I think everyone can probably relate to it in some way that when it could be your day, your year, so you've got some mad stress going on in your life that how many people say go out in nature and like
Yeah,
breathe and whatever, but to go even deeper again, it is a place of no judgment as long as you don't start disrespecting, leaving rubbish everywhere. Like you
mm,
will, like you'll have a nice time. Mostly, obviously, if you go into
absolutely.
a wild raft and you can't swim, like there's some places where you should probably like step back a little bit. But most places, there's just no judgment, and yeah, that's a really lovely way of putting it. And what point then did you move to Ireland?
I think I was 9. My mom was like trying to escape that toxic life. So
Sure.
so she was like, I'm gonna just leave the country. And we had like a choice of like Scotland, England, and Ireland. And I thought Ireland was the place where the polar bears lived. Like I thought it was Iceland.
Ah,
So I
that's
was
so
a
cute.
bit shocked when I got here. I was like, where's the snow?
Oh, what a disappointment. But at least we have badgers. We have badgers, so it's not
I
so
know.
bad.
I saw a pine marten yesterday. For the first time in my life, I saw it. It was on my
Oh,
to-do list, on my bucket list. Finally have it ticked off. I'm so happy.
where did you see it?
So I just moved to Wicklow like, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. I
Oh,
know. So now I feel
Wicklow.
like I'm
So
in nature
beautiful.
now.
Ah, that's so
It is.
lovely. I'd say you're
Yeah.
in your element.
Yeah,
That
we were
is.
just going back from the shop, and the pine marten ran right across us, like on the street, like just ran, and like I was like, "Oh my God, hello! I
I love
love
you.
you."
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah.
That's okay. So you do so many things now. So obviously it's clear as day that ecology was probably a very simple path for you to follow then with that kind of love and relationship with nature. But at what point, or was there a point, or was it a gradual kind of process, did you realize or learn about climate change? When
Hmm.
did that become a factor for you?
Yeah, I guess I guess it was around when I was 8 or 9. So back then I was still in Poland, and in school the subjects were so different. Like there was so many more options. So we actually had things like music and architecture and things like that back in primary school. And one of my favorite classes or lessons were nature lessons, and that's where I learned like, oh, batteries are really bad if you don't recycle them. And we even had like the system of like you bring in batteries into the class and you get like an A on top of your grades, so that if you're a really bad student, you have Fs all the time, your grade will go up to like, I don't know, a D if you kept bringing batteries all year, you know? So it was really, really cool.
Oh my God,
Things
that's
like that.
so smart. That's madness. That's so cool.
It is, and like I loved it because like I don't think I was that like interested in school. Like I was only interested in art and like science and biology. It was really like just the two things I liked. So back then I learned about the ozone layer and how important it is to recycle and things like that. And it just became my whole life. First of all, I was like so inspired, like to do things. And then second, I was really shocked that no one else is feeling the same way as me. Like I was literally the only one. And I had this fire like in every part of me. Like I need to do this for like our planet, like nature is amazing, and like why isn't anyone else doing it with me? So that's how I felt. So it was back then. Yeah, I just felt really, really strongly about it. Like I think when you're younger, I don't know if it's the same for everyone, but I just felt like 100% committed to everything. I was like, I'm going to be this person. I'm going to be feeling this way about this. Like I hate this song, but I love this song. Like everything was 100%. So for me,
Yeah.
the 100% was like, I want to help the planet, and that's it. Yeah, so I think it just kind of happened since then. That was probably back in like 2002 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I do think I was kind of lucky as well, because that's not common. Like I don't think for people to get exposed to that kind of education so early on.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it helped that I was that young, that I wasn't maybe corrupted by other things in life or like preoccupied with other things. So I kind of had that place in my heart very early on.
Wow, okay. I think yeah, I was kind of similar as in aware of like trees being cut down and just
Yeah.
things happening around me that I didn't like, but I don't think I actually really became I didn't become active until very recently. Probably since the start of this podcast. Like before that I was just kind of like surfing along going, oh, I love nature, oh no, climate change, oh well, I love it, not
Mm,
actually kind of doing much. But you have got so many projects and things under your belt,
yeah.
and one of these is called Understory. So can you tell us about what it is, what's involved? We'll probably branch into loads of different things here because that's what you seem to be doing. So
I know. I just can't focus on one thing. I don't know what it is.
yeah.
Um, so Understory kind of came about because I felt really conscious of my own carbon footprint. So like in my life, over time, I'm now vegan. I kind of adapted like a zero waste lifestyle. I buy in bulk, like all these things that you kind of do on your journey to being greener. I've kind of like ticked them off, and I don't know if I'm like doing it on purpose, but I'm like tick tick tick. I'm like trying to be as, I don't know, as green as I can be,
Yeah.
right? And I was thinking like the one thing that I can't seem to get is like consumerism. Like how do we do it consciously and like sustainably? Because we still need things, but it's not like it's like there yet for in every aspect, you know? Like it's impossible to be green, I think, and be a consumer. So what I thought, because I love plants, I thought I should open up like something like a plant shop or something that recycles materials, things that like things you can create out of waste and like create products and kind of have those as alternatives to the normal plant shops. So like the plastic pots, I hate those, but they're
Mm-hmm.
like in every shop and like you're still using them. I was like plastic free household, and then I'm like I'm bringing these plants in and I love plants and I don't want to compromise on it. So that's kind of how it began, because I just kind of tried to extend my like personal like values into, I guess I was just kind of creating it for myself, basically, is what happened. And then because I also love like community empowerment and I love creating and like I love art, like there's so many things I love and I just really wanted them like to be one thing, like to marry everything in one, which is
Mm-hmm.
what I could never do. Like everything is seems separated. Like you're either an artist or you're like a scientist, but I love both. So like I really try to combine them. So I felt like everything that I've done in my life kind of led me to that point because I've done science, I've done some art, I did some youth work, and I still couldn't get a job. And I was like,
Typical.
what do I do? Typical, right? So yeah, so I was like, okay, let me just like, I don't know, rebel against everything. And I was kind of mad at the world that like I'm not getting a job, even though I've tried so hard and I, spent 4 years of my life on a degree. And then anyway, so I was like, okay, let me do this thing and put my heart and soul into it. I guess to simplify what I do is Understory is basically like an online eco garden store where I reuse materials that are waste in other areas, and then I incorporate my own waste into materials, and it's like a circular kind of system, very zero waste, but like actually zero waste because like those zero waste like shops, they're zero waste for the consumer, but they're not zero waste for the actual business,
Yeah,
even
like
even though
they
they're
end up
zero
with
waste.
some waste, be it bulk waste
Exactly.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was thinking like it is possible to be 100% zero waste and circular. So I was thinking of trying it out. And it's kind of working. Like it's taking so much time, but like it's really fun and it's really creative because you have to be innovative with your materials and things like that. So that's kind of it. Like in the shop, I try to create things that will connect other people to nature, also like plant pots and things like that, kits. And the other side of it is the education and the community aspect. So I started like a community group in Rathmines, which didn't have one before, which is shocking.
That's
um,
mad because it's such a Rathmines for people outside of Dublin or Ireland. Listening is such like an up and coming kind of hipster
yeah.
young community. But yeah, that
Mhm.
is surprising that it
Yeah.
didn't have any community groups. So you set one up. So that's where you were living before you moved to Wicklow.
Yeah. So I lived
Ah.
there for maybe 3 years and I just always, I don't know, I have this thing of feeling alone, I guess. But I was like, there's no one else here. Like, who do I talk to? Like, is there no one else who has the same ideas as me? Like that this bin is needed here or like this alleyway just beside where I used to live. And it was literally just so dirty and like littered every single day. And I used to clean it up like as much as I could. And I was just like, is there no one else who like, gets bothered by this? And then I didn't do anything until last year when everyone was more confined to their where they lived. And I was like,
Mm.
okay, so I usually do like cleanups in forests and on the beaches. So how about I just like focus on my area now? And I set up this community group, and like I found that most people have the same feelings as me, which is crazy. Like everyone had the same suggestions like across like 50 people I talked to, and I just thought it was amazing, like the one voice like across so many people in one community, but they don't know each other, like I
Yeah.
just thought it was amazing. So I put them together, or I tried, and we've kind of been like getting to know each other a little bit. Like we had a few meetups. I did like a few community events with them. And it's slowly growing and it's amazing and I love it. And then I also do workshops, and I worked with Accenture before, Eco Unesco, which is who I'm working with now on like this climate justice program, which is really exciting and just like trying to do good things.
Well, it sounds like you're absolutely far and away with more than just good things. So
Oh,
it
thanks.
sounds so cool. So the shop, is that kind of an online place? And I presume, like from what I've seen, they're very unique pieces, obviously, because you're upcycling things. So they're kind of once-off things that you buy.
Hmm.
Is that all online at the moment, or do you plan on doing markets, or what are your kind of intentions there?
Yeah, so I'm like very slow with it. Like I love making things, and I have some things that I need to like because it's just me basically. Understory is me,
Mm.
and I'm like learning about photography and I'm like learning about marketing and social media management and all that. So it's like taking a little more time. So I have quite a few products, but I haven't put them up yet. Like it's mostly people that know me or like my neighbors that would like know about these things. So I do have to make an effort to make it more public. And then funnily enough, I actually did want to do a Christmas fair, but I just got, and not many people know this, I never knew how much it costs to do like a Christmas fair or like have a stall until yesterday.
Oh no.
And I got an email back, and I guess like it's my fault. I was like wondering about the ODS because you know the ODS is
Oh
like
yeah,
some
that would
a
be like the
place where everyone
biggest
goes.
one. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I probably shouldn't say, but it's like over 2 grand for like a
yeah.
few days.
Oh my god. Oh
So
my
it's
god.
not for me. It's not for me right
No.
now.
Yeah, it was Jesus. Fair play to the people who can afford that. That's wild. Maybe there'll be smaller markets and stuff where you can come up. That would be so
Yeah,
lovely.
love to do
To
that.
yeah, to meet people in person. That'd be class. And do you think in future, putting the law of attraction out there, would you ever want a in person physical shop?
I would love that
Yeah.
because I'm just thinking, how fun would it be to like design your own shop and like all the little things you love, like have them there for yourself to look at, you know? Like I just love that. I try to surround myself with pretty things, like you can tell, like I
Yeah.
love plants and stuff, so it'd be amazing.
Yeah, that would be so, so, so lovely. Well, I'll obviously link Understory and all of that in the show notes. But you also, like this weekend, you'll be doing a foraging workshop. So was foraging something that you like taught yourself? Like, was it something you were doing as a child, or how did that come about? I've only like I am not a forager. I picked wild garlic for the first time ever, like this past year, and was like,
Exciting.
I almost died. I was like, I know what this is. It's a leaf I can eat, and
Amazing.
it was the most cool feeling ever. But I wish I knew more. It's the kind of intelligence I
Mm.
long for. So I wish if I was free this weekend, I would absolutely go to your workshop, which for future listeners will already have gone. So hopefully there'll be more. But yeah, how did you learn about foraging?
I was kind of lucky actually because growing up in Poland, I think it's just a much bigger thing there. So my mom got involved in it through someone else. Like it was just a friend of a friend who was like, "Oh, do you want to come?" And I absolutely loved this. Like I was so little, I was maybe like 4. And because I was so small, like they would make me go and scout for mushrooms because I could just spot them because I was so small. So
Yeah,
I
you're
was a
closer
great
to the
tool.
ground, of
And that
course.
was such positive reinforcement. They were like, oh my God, you're so good, you're the best. And I was just having the time of my life. So yeah, I definitely was lucky that I was exposed to it early on. And that was just mushrooms. After when I guess I studied ecology, I learned more and I was still really fascinated about like edible, like wild foods. So I did do a lot of like, you know, self-learning and going out. And I loved doing these like botanical studies, like doing illustrations and things like that. So I just really loved botany in general. But it's so much more fun when you can actually eat what you find.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably it. Yeah, I absolutely love foraging. And we can still organize like not necessarily to pick edible foods, but we can still go and look at things, you know, just
Yeah.
educational, yeah, kind of thing. And I'd love to incorporate like forest bathing into it and like self-awareness and just have like an amazing experience in the woods. And yeah, it doesn't have to be foraging every time. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. And I'm definitely going to keep an eye out for all of that stuff. And speaking of edible plants, you mentioned earlier that you were vegan. So I imagine was like at what point did that happen? Was it a step by step thing? And was it for the environment, or how did that veganism happen for you?
It's not that inspiring, I guess. Like, what happened was when I was younger, I always loved animals. And I think I heard you say this before. Like, I loved animals, but I was never like too sure about being vegan. I just thought it was too extreme. Like, I just loved butter, like salted butter and bread was my everything.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, I can't give that up. Like, there's only so much left in this life that I really enjoy. Just let me be what I want to be. So I was like, not letting that go. And but I did give up beef since I was probably like 9, just because I knew back then like how bad carbon emissions were, or methane emissions
Wow.
from cows. So I did do that, and then I guess like it's been maybe 3, 4 years since I've been vegan now, and like I don't miss it at all. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I think once you become it, it's really funny for the first few months. Like I had no idea what I was doing. I was making these like energy balls out of like oats and things that tasted awful. I was
Oh
like, is
no.
this what we eat now?
This is my life now. I've nothing to
Yeah.
enjoy.
Yeah, but then like I love baking and I love to cook, so I kind of created like vegan alternatives for everything I loved before, and like I don't see the difference at all, like other than just that I feel much better and I feel less guilty. Yeah, so it's been amazing. Like I wouldn't change it, and I'll probably be vegan for the rest of my life, but if I decide to eat some butter one day, like I'm not going to be stopping myself. It's not about like going 100%, you know?
Yeah, people can try
Moderation.
their best. Exactly. People just
Yeah.
try their best and be open to other people doing their best as well. I think it all helps. And you were also talking there about a climate justice project with UNESCO.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I kind of became a youth program officer with Eco Unesco, which is like a charity organization in Ireland. They're really, really good, and I've like done volunteering and internships with them before, and I think they're so good for young people, really empowering. So at the moment, because COP26 is coming up, I think it's at the end of this month, I really wanted to incorporate young people into it, because I think what happens a lot is we have this pent up energy, and like we don't know how we can influence like those big corporations, those like policymakers, but we do feel the effect. I don't know, I feel like a lot of what they talk about is not their future, it's my future, it's my kids'
Mm.
future, you know. But yes, we don't really have like a voice as much as I think we'd want to have. So I was just really hoping to create like a 3-day event online where people can join. I think it will be probably aimed at like 11 to 20 years old, but anyone can join. Learn what it is, talk about like what steps we can take at home, things like that. So just kind of talk about it, and feel like we're not alone. I feel like we can do something, like it's important. Kind of
That's
like a wholesome event, hopefully.
Aw, it does
Yeah,
sound very wholesome. Cool. I'll keep an eye out for when that's happening online. Fair play to you. And there's
sure.
something else I wanted to ask. You mentioned community work in Rathmines, and there was, I don't know if it's the same alley, but there was like a green area that did you want people help in like preserving it or making it biodiverse, or what was that? I saw like your call out for like
Yeah,
any locals interested, so can you tell listeners what you were doing there?
for sure. So I guess I have that mindset in my mind. Like, if I see an area that I think needs improvement, like, I don't know, I'm obsessed with changing things and making things better. So I'm walking around my neighborhood because we had to do that so many times a day back then. Couldn't get out anywhere else. So I was just walking around, was like this area is amazing. Like there's so many trees. And I swear I don't do drugs. This is just my natural like
This is my
way
natural
of
high, you
thinking.
guys.
I was like, what usually happens is you have like this crazy wild area in the city, and people forget about it, and it becomes really biodiverse, and plants like start growing out of like every crevice, and it's absolutely amazing. And then someone comes, chops it all off because it's too wild, and it just gets lost. So I was like, oh God, I think I need to say something here because I'm so afraid this is going to be gone. And it's like Rathmines does not have a lot of green space like
Mm.
whatsoever. It's really scarce. So what I did was I put together like a poster, and I maybe made 3 or 4. And I put them up, and I was like, are you interested in getting involved in like some eco action in your neighborhood? And I got maybe like 2 responses.
But that's something, that's cool.
It is absolutely awesome. And since then, like more people got involved, and like, word of mouth and all that. And now we have like 30 people, I think. I guess the proposal was I made like a 10-page proposal about it. where I said the ecological, educational, like conservation, like importance of the area, how many things we could do there. So I basically just proposed like for it to become like a biodiversity area with like birdhouses, or even like suggested like bug hotels, which is now there. I made it anyway. I didn't get permission.
You just did it.
um,
Legend.
yeah, with other people. It wasn't just me. We had like a nice little workshop, and the kids like that keep walking by it, anytime I see them see it, they're like, oh my God, what's that? And they come closer and they like look under it, and it's just so amazing. And like, I don't know, I feel like the council actually said no.
Of course they
Yeah,
did.
but I think I'm gonna get like, I don't know, go around it and do it with the landowner directly, because it's not actually like the Dublin City Council land.
Okay.
Um, but they still said no, I can't do it. So I think
Oh.
there's like a way I can go around that. I think. So I'm gonna
Hmm.
try that. So that's my next step. There's also another area in Rathmines that I proposed to have like a community garden in.
That would be so cool. A little community garden in Rathmines. And so it's good to know that this, because I have never applied for something like that.
Hmm.
So it's good to know that you can apply to your council to get the
Yeah.
ball rolling.
I actually have like prepared a whole resource email because I've gone through so many hurdles with this, and like I was banging my head against the wall so many times. I was like, I really don't understand why it's so difficult, but it's fine. I've done it. I've gone through the process and I learned so many things. And I put together like this email for anyone who wants to do similar, for like contacts, people who will help them, how to get grants, things like that. Because I didn't know it when I started. And I just missed on the biggest grants, even though I asked so many different people about like, is there any grant? And no one like told me about it. And then the one person that did, it was too late.
Oh
But it's fine. There's
no.
always next year. Yeah. So basically, I've just put together this thing. So if anyone needs any tips, like absolutely contact me. I have it ready to send.
That is so kind and helpful of you. I'll absolutely make sure to include your contact details in the show notes for sure.
Cool.
Jesus, there's so much you're up to, Alex, that I feel like you need your own podcast. But we can't chat all day. But before we move on to like the last section, is there anything else that you'd like to share for listeners, either that advice for them or things that you have in the pipeline for future or other recommendations that you do that people can adopt?
Hmm. I think the main thing I would like to say is for people, because I think a lot of people who listen to this are the kind of people that want to help and they care about climate change and things like that. So I
Mm.
think my main thing to say to you is that, not to be overwhelmed by it, not to let the negative things like go into your head. And I think the one thing I tell myself that keeps me kind of positive is that we all make choices like every single day. There's so many choices we can make. And if you decide to, I don't know, slap yourself in the face right now, you're going to give yourself a sore face in a few minutes. So it always kind of makes me feel like I do have control, like what I do now will matter in the future. So you can definitely shape.
I
You can
just love that
definitely
example so much. I mean, if you slap your face now, it'll hurt
it
in a
just
few
makes
minutes.
sense. Yeah. Like that I say that to myself way too many times in the day. So for me it just reminds me that like I do have control, and you have to realize that no matter like where you come from, like what your beliefs are is so important, and it can lead to like having an amazing life, like a really fulfilling and positive life. And like I was at a stage in my life back, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, where I was just so depressed and like so anxious, and I thought like there's absolutely no way I'll ever be happy. And like even though I felt like that, I still had that little reminder that like I do care for something, I care for nature. So I hung on to that and I came out of everything, and I'm here now kind of doing so many things and having so many like things I can be grateful for. So I just think if you remember what you care about and what your values are, it's what matters, and you always have it no matter like who comes in, who like I don't know, like gives that to you. If someone divorces you, like whatever tragedy happens, you always have yourself, and you'll have, you know, whatever is lying deep within you. Yeah, so that's probably
That's
the one
so
thing I have to say.
lovely. Oh, that no,
Yeah.
that's so so lovely, and it's so true. Like you always have yourself and what you care about, and yeah, that's really important. That is so lovely, Alex. Now to
Thanks.
change the atmosphere completely, I'm going to switch to some bonkers questions
Sure.
to close off. So they don't have to be climate related answers or related to the letter they're associated with. You just pick a letter of the alphabet and there is a random question associated with it. So do you want to give
Okay.
me your first letter?
Could I have Z?
Z. Share something about the natural world that you find awe-inspiring. So you, out of all the guests, probably
Ooh.
have so many so many things to choose from. But yeah, any kind of example of something that makes your brain go, "Wow."
I think mushrooms are fascinating. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like they are the one thing I can't ever like get accustomed to. Like whenever I see a mushroom, it's like the first time I see a mushroom. And I think it's incredible because what you see on top is the fruit body. So it's like the fruit, it's like the apple of an apple tree. And beneath is like the root system, which can be there for hundreds of years. Like there was a mushroom that they found that was 1,000 years old in the UK, which I think is incredible. And they
Mm.
say mushrooms were on the planet before we were. So like we may be related to fungi more than we think. I just think that's mind blowing that we could be like fungus.
Yeah, no, it is. It's so mind blowing. There's a documentary on Netflix. I think it's relatively new called Fantastic Fungi or Fungi. I don't know how you pronounce it, but it was again mind blowing and about that the mycelium network I think it's called, and the
Yeah,
fact that that is like linked to like trees tap into that into like their root system, and like they literally, it's not a hocus pocus imaginary
yeah,
thing, they literally share information. It's like the
they do.
original World Wide Web is
Yeah,
mushrooms talking to each other. Oh, it's yeah. So that's, I think mushrooms are very apt to choose
yeah.
for that question. Definitely.
Okay.
Have you got another letter?
Could I have A? I'm gonna make you like
A.
go from the top
Up
to the
it.
bottom.
A for ash tree. Oh, the best plant-based meal you've ever had, or one
Oh,
of. I know it's a hard question.
oh, I just love food so much. It's so hard to pick. Um, I think I make a really good stir fry, like a really good stir fry. Like if you think I'm like I used to be like a Chinese takeaway kind of guy, like
Mm,
before, like I had Chinese takeaway all the time. I marinate the tofu first,
okay.
then I put cornstarch on it. Then I fry it and then I marinate it again. So it's
Oh.
like it creates this like crunchy, chewy texture, which I love.
Nice.
Yeah, and then veggies, fresh veggies, maybe from the garden, maybe organic. So yeah, I love stir fries.
Stir fries, marinated tofu. Can't go wrong. Love
Mm,
it. And
absolutely.
one more letter.
B.
B. What's your favorite documentary?
Oh. I love David Attenborough like so much. I
Yeah.
think he is my like one of like I just if I could have him like in my house, just like I don't know, if you could just live with me.
Just
I
look
wouldn't
at,
even
just
talk to
yeah,
him.
yeah, just look at
Yeah.
him. Just sit there, drink tea, staring at him, going, just
Yeah.
narrate something there, David, will you?
I just want to have his presence. Like I think he's so calm and like collected and like I don't know, there's just something like that I just love. And yeah, he's really inspiring and so knowledgeable and he's still active, like he's still there. And I know I shouldn't, but I worry like he's getting old and I really don't want
Mm-hmm.
it to end.
I
And I'm like,
know, no, I know. He's in well into his 90s now, I think. Yeah, I fear the day.
yeah,
I fear the day we lose him. But he's, yeah, he's left such a good legacy. Like his documentaries are bloody brilliant. They're so good.
Yeah, that's probably like one thing I really wanted to do when I was younger as well, like do documentaries and just like, I guess, learning about animals and showing it visually, which is what I'm still passionate about. Yeah, so I think he inspired me as well when I was younger, for sure.
Cool. Well, on that note, I would like to thank you, Alex, for giving me your time again on this Friday evening. And
No
hopefully,
problem.
I will meet you in person, if not at a protest or market somewhere, hopefully in one of your foraging workshops. So, thank you so much. It's
I'd
been
love that.
lovely.
Thank you. I'd absolutely love that.
There you go. It's not every single interview where when you're chatting with someone, you get like, even over Zoom, you have a connection. And even after the interview finished, we just kept chatting for ages. We have so much in common, myself and Alex. So I can't wait to meet her in person. Raging, I couldn't go on the foraging trip, but I hear it went really well. And yeah, so hopefully we'll meet in person. And I hope you guys got something out of Alex's book there. And her email is alex@understory.ie. If you would like to get in touch and ask her for help or those email kind of layouts that she made for applying to Arts Council, or not Arts Council, City Council funding, or City Council, what's the word? Permission. Guys, my brain is just not working. I don't know what's going on with the universe this weekend. I'm so tired. Oh, but anyway, we got here. We're at the end. And I hope you guys enjoyed this little chat. Stay safe. Don't forget to share the podcast, recommend it, let me know if you've any feedback, good or bad. But yeah, that's it. Have a lovely another 2 weeks, and I will catch you back in 2 weeks' time with another episode and another amazing person that you can take a leaf from their book out of. So thank you so much for tuning in, listening all the way to the end. I'm sending you so much love. Mind yourselves. Bye.